Let me share. All right, Shalom. First and foremost, we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh.
Yahweh, Bahashem,
The
Yahushai, Bahashem, Rakakadash.
double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And yeah, through the Spirit, we once again to this lesson, dealing with being short-winded in understanding and studying thoroughly. Okay, and this lesson was inspired by a video that I was watching. Um, this is re-uploaded by the elder Yashawamba, Remnant Save 144, and it's called After Camp Edification by the elders in Boston, GMS Boston, and they're basically dealing with these quote-unquote Christians that came up. For the most part, they look like Edomites, and you had, from the way they were moving in the spirit, you know, you could discern them to be Edomites. I don't know if all of them were, but from the spirit, right? So they were basically, having the discourse, and one of the elders mentioned, I don't recall his name, but he did have like a brown jacket on. He was like mainly speaking, um, and he mentioned a statement because as he was answering one of their questions, you could see how they started to get impatient because when we go through the scriptures, it says, "For precept must be upon precept," and the scriptures say, "With all thy getting, get understanding." So, in order to prove a certain point, you have to go to the different precepts and then explain that precept and then get the next precept. So, as he's doing that, you can see them, getting all impatient. And he mentions it, and he made a statement. He mentioned about how Christianity basically teaches you to just deal with like one tiny segment out of the verse or the scripture or the chapter, and that's it. And because of that, they don't thoroughly go through it, and so they don't understand. He said, I know I'm being long-winded, but we have to go. If you want to fully understand the scriptures, you have to be thorough. All right, which is a very, very true and key aspect about this knowledge. Yeah, it's made easier now because there are videos out that you watch and listen to, and brothers and elders will explain and go into certain precepts and break it down to you and what it means. But you also need to study the scriptures. And as you're studying, you need to study thoroughly. You have a lot of Israelites that are short-winded in understanding. And that's because they're not able to sit there for a long period of time and actually read the scriptures and look into the words. When they see a certain word that you're not familiar with, don't just skip over it and just, oh, I'm just going to try to get the main concept of the verse. In order to get the understanding of the verse, you need to look up those words that you're not familiar with. You got to look them up in the Hebrew. You got to look them up in whatever language is there. You might need to look up synonyms. Okay, maybe look it up in the etymology to get the understanding of the word. So as you read the verse, you can substitute the meaning of that word in there as you're reading it to get the full understanding of what you're reading. And if you got to read one chapter and it's continued in the next, then you got to read that chapter to get the full picture of it. But Jake wants things quick, I just wanted to just, all right, let me hear. Oh, okay, this is what it is. Boom, boom, boom. But if you don't thoroughly read it and you're gonna go teach it, what happens when somebody asks you a question that you didn't hear in the video or something like that?
Got a precept.
You got it.
This is 2 Timothy chapter 3, starting from verse 16. It says, all scripture is given by inspiration of God.
Oh,
and
that's
it
the
is.
spirit. That's the spirit. Actually,
got
hold on. That's the first precept I got here. So
okay, God.
you're the third chapter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, jump up to this the 7th verse and then jump down to the 14th verse.
Okay. 2 Timothy chapter 3, starting from verse 7. It says, ever learning, never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
There you go. So ever learning, never able to come to the knowledge of the truth, because the truth, as the scriptures say, let me get a quick precept to back this up. Romans chapter 11, verse 33. It says, "Oh, the depth of the riches, both of the wisdom and knowledge of the Most High. How unsearchable are his judgments and his ways past finding out." So it talks about the depth of the riches of the wisdom and knowledge of the Most High. So if you're going to study or deal with these riches, you have to be thorough about it. That's why you have certain individuals that don't, the spirit is not with them, or they just lazy. Okay, and that's why, like the brother just read, ever learning but never able to come to the can you read that again, Babakasha?
Ever learning and never able to come to the knowledge of the truth.
There you go. Because in order to fully grasp that, you have to understand it. And in order to understand something, you have to thoroughly learn it and study it and dig deep and do the research on it. All right. If it's something historical, a lot of the scriptures, like if you deal in the New Testament, for example, when you deal with the issue of the mystery of the Gentiles, it's very simple if you understand it, but you have individuals that don't see how it's talking about Israelites, and that's mainly because they don't know the history.
Yep.
Because they don't want to thoroughly sit down and go and read, okay, the book of Maccabees, okay, the diaspora, okay, the different captivities we were in, okay, when the Hellenization of Jake. That's a lot of history. But if you read it and thoroughly understand it, you can connect it with the time of the New Testament, and that way when you go and you say, yeah, the Gentiles in there are really talking about Israelites, you can prove it, you can back it up, you can understand, and you can explain it for somebody else, whether you need to defend the gospel or whether you're trying to actually impart it to this individual. But if you don't study it and all you know is, yeah, I know the Gentiles are Israelites, if you go and tell somebody that, they may agree with you, but now what if they ask, okay, well, how do you prove that? Like, I want to know how. I understand and I agree, but how are they the Israelites? Well, I saw it in the video. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not sufficient.
Yeah.
All right, so you could jump down to verse 14 and then go down to read through to 17, because then the one you brought out is in there.
Right. 2 Timothy chapter 3:14. But continue thou in the things that thou hast learned and hast been assured of, knowing of whom thou hast learned them, and that from a child thou hast known the holy scriptures, which are able to make thee wise unto salvation through faith, which is in Hamashiach Yahushai.
And as you read the scriptures, your faith gets built up. But that's if you're actually diligently reading and understanding. See, there's certain verses in there that you may read it once, twice, but you come back and read it again slowly and you understand it. It'll be like oh, damn, the Most High actually did that, and then it'll boost your faith. The more you see and understand the scripture, the more you'll get into it.
Right. Verse 16. All scripture is given by inspiration of God, and is profitable for the doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be perfect, thoroughly furnished unto all good works.
There you go, right? Thoroughly furnished. So now let's look up that word furnished. What we have here? We have here exartizo. It says to complete, finish perfectly, to accomplish, as it were, to render the days complete. Right? So when we furnish ourselves onto good works, we're studying and learning and sharpening each other. It's mainly by studying, and being diligent. A part of look, man, if you're out there doing the works, before you start teaching, as it tells you in Hebrews 5:12, you first need to learn.
Right.
If you're not thorough in your studies, you can't go out there and teach and be there, because you're gonna either say something that's off, or you're going to be asked a question that may throw you off, or you may not be well rooted enough to be out there. So in order to be out there doing those works, you got to be in here doing these works when you're studying. If you study thoroughly, you can teach thoroughly. The more you know, the more you can teach. The more you understand, the better you help others understand. Because when they have questions, you can answer those questions because you know what you're talking about. You're not parroting. You know what you're talking about. A lot of these so-called Christians come, and you know what happens? They get caught up because they can't, quote unquote, spiritually improvise, meaning they're taught one way to deal with something, and when they get an answer that combats that way, they don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know shit. They didn't teach me this. I don't know how to navigate myself through the scriptures. All I know is if I jump to John 3:16, I just got to overtalk them and then I got to run away. That's why they end up running, because they're like, okay, he got me here. I don't know where else to go. I can't maneuver in the scriptures. But if you try to come at us, man, if you watch the video, you'll see the one of the dudes, the quote unquote Christians that came up there. He brought out Revelation 7 and 9, and the second he brought it out, brothers was already lining precepts up. You know what I'm saying? The second he brought it out, no, I got this, because we've seen it before. We already know what you're thinking, so we know already what to get to combat it. But that's why it says that the man of God may be perfect. When you're dealing with factories that manufacture things, or applications that get designed and so on and so forth, there's the process of making it, but they also go through another process of testing it. You don't just make a product and then just throw it out there. You have to test the product that you've made, right? So depending on what the product does, you have to test how well can it perform either under small conditions or under intense conditions. And when you tested it and you see that it can perform well under all conditions, that's when you go out and sell it. So when you're being made perfect, you may learn something, but until you're really able to teach it, that's when you've fully been tested. And the scriptures talk about what? Experience, which means to be tried out, right? So as you learn these things and you're thoroughly studying, and sometimes it's tedious. You can look that word up. Sometimes it's tedious, and you don't want to sit there for hours like, I got to go into this. No. But that's what's needed sometimes. All right? That's how you get sharp. If you are sharpening a knife, they have the I forgot what kind of stone it's called, but it's used to sharpen like the whetstone, the water. If you go and you do 1, 2, and you go, your knife is not going to be as sharp as one that's there. Because in Ghana you hear it a lot. They'll be sharpening this, and they'll be there for a minute, just sharpening. You're like, damn, you still doing this shit? Because they want to make sure it's as sharp as possible before they go and they cut whatever it is they got to cut. So that was it on that verse. You got anything you wanted to say?
I have the precept that I want to pull up, but I'm not sure if it's the right one. All right. It's Ezra chapter 7, verse 10, I believe.
Is it second Ezra or is it Ezra?
No, Ezra, and then we're gonna link it up to second Ezra.
Okay.
So this is second Ezra chapter 7, verse 10. It says, "For Ezra had prepared his heart to seek the law of the Lord of Yahweh, and to do it, and to teach in Israel the statutes and judgments." And then we jump on to second Ezra.
Yep. Yeah. And that's the thing. When it says he prepared his heart to seek the law of the Lord, the laws there's about 613, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the laws are not something that you just look at in one glance and then no.
Yeah.
So he when he prepared himself, meaning that he knew that, I'm going to need to be here for a minute. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to need to really get into this if I'm going to understand the Most High and the ways of the Most High. So he prepared himself to be thorough in studying the law, to understand what the scriptures say. What does this mean? Like when you deal with like the Pharisees, the scribes, and the Sadducees, their job was to go. They call them doctors of the law. Like when you get to a certain level, their job was to actually go into the laws, read it, understand it, dissect it, and know how to apply it to a daily situation. Because not every case that comes to you is explicitly covered in the law. So you got to know how to categorize whatever situation is presented to you and fit it into the law to know what judgment or what penalty is appropriate for that situation. Because some situations are they may look as though they're in the gray area. So you may need a bit more information to say, okay, well, in a situation like this, how would I apply this law? Would it be considered this or would it be considered that? In order to do that, you got to study the law thoroughly. Every word in there, every key word in there, and you got to know, okay, so when I come across this, I know, all right, we judge it according to this law. So when Ezra prepared his heart to study that, he wasn't just, oh, I'm going to spend 2 days reading a couple verses, 2 hours a day. No, he was ready. That's why he went on that fast. You read it in the scripture. Yeah, you could bring it up.
But I want to also jump up to verse 6. It says, Ezra chapter 7, verse 6 says, this Ezra went up from Babylon, and he was a ready scribe in the law of Moses, which the Lord Yahweh, God of Israel, had given. Right. So we jump into the Apocryphal, 2nd Ezra, chapter 13. Let's see. All right, 2nd Ezra chapter 13, verse 54. It says, for thou, which is Ezra, hast forsaken thine own way, and applied thy diligence unto my law, and sought it. Thy life hast thou ordered in wisdom, and hast called understanding thy mother. And therefore have I showed thee the treasures of the highest. Right. After other 3 days, I will speak other things unto thee, and declare unto you the mighty and wondrous things. Right. Then went I forth into the field, giving praise and thanks greatly unto the Most High because of his wonders which he did in time. So this is just our connection to like the reward of being diligent. The Most High loves a man who is who actually appreciates his word, who actually values his word. And that is why Ezra was given the privilege of understanding the mysteries of the kingdom, the mysteries of the coming of the coming of Yahweh Bashim Yahushai. The Most High granted him these visions. He had a special connection with the Most High. The Most High loved him very much because of what his diligence in his word and his scriptures. The Most High didn't just give it for no reason. This scripture was not meant to be under your bed. It wasn't meant to just be on your bookshelf. It was meant to be in your head. There's a reason why you read the book of Maccabees. Look, Israel had to do a lot of things. The people had to fight to protect this word, man. People did a lot of things because what they understood how much this thing meant to us. They understood the value of these things. So it's not a light thing when we tell you to be diligent and keep this thing in your heart, man. It's a serious thing, and you should see it that way so that your life can be better.
God. Yeah, because this is treasure.
God.
This is treasure, and see the thing about it is, it shows you where, because the scriptures talk about storing your treasures in heaven. For where your treasure is, there's your heart also.
Right.
Now you got a lot of Jake that they won't spend as much time in the scriptures as they would something else. Whether you maybe as a woman, you're gonna go up, you're gonna search up, when it comes to this, if a girl says this, what does it mean? Or how do you read body language of a chick when she says this to you or looks at? Jake will spend hours watching video tutorials, right? Of people telling them, yeah, when she says this, it means this. If her legs and her face are facing towards you, she's giving you attention. If her arms are folded, then you gotta watch out. They'll do it. She flip her hair, she playing with her hair. That means she likes you. God. Jake will have 10 journals on tutorials on how to deal with women when they, how to talk to her, what to text her. And you'll spend hours watching that because you're trying to get with this fine chick. But when it comes to the scriptures, you read maybe a couple verses. All right, cool. That's it. No, this is treasure. But that shows you, what do you value more? If you're willing to spend hours looking at how to bag a chick, but you're not willing to spend hours studying the scriptures, then clearly you value that more than the scriptures, more than the real riches. And that's why, if you could read what you just read again in 2nd Ezra, starting from where you started from.
54. It says, thou hast forsaken thine own way and applied thy diligence unto my law and sought it.
There you go. Thou hast forsaken thy own way and applied thy diligence unto my law. Why do you think the Most High took us out of the world? Because A lot of us used to do things in the world before the Lord woke us up to this truth. And most of us don't do those things anymore because because in those things we would have applied our diligence. But through the Spirit, he had us forsake those ways. And instead of applying the diligence there, we apply it here. Because brothers are not slow. Brothers are sharp. All of us, we're we can think. We have common sense.
Right.
And we move differently from the rest of the world because that's just in our spirit. So the Lord is like, why should I have good men, good workers like you out there giving your energy to the world when I got work that needs to be done here? I'm going to make sure you here doing the work. If you diligent, I ain't going to have you being diligent because say you like music, you're a music producer or a writer. I know you're diligent, so I know if you were in the world, you would do great in that. But I'm not going to waste talent doing music when I got work that needs to be done over here. So I'm going to bring that diligence over here. Right. I used to run track, but I got injured. And it happened right when I came into the truth. And it was so bad that I couldn't really do what I used to do in there anymore. Every time I would run, the pain would come back. So I got to the point where I said, you know what? And it's funny because the track meets used to be on Saturdays, which is supposed to be the days that we're supposed to be out there. So I knew at some point it will conflict, but hey, like Paul said, you count it as loss for Yahweh Shai. So that's why the angel said, you have forsaken that and you've applied that diligence that you would have applied there. You spent hours writing music or coming up with a song or playing whatever you're doing, but instead you spend that time in this truth. You're not short-winded in understanding. You can sit there and read or watch a video and actually listen to the content, take notes, study, so it sticks up in here. All right? We don't just get things. You got to work for things. You can't, like, I think you said it, you said, Jake they basically want to reap, but they don't want to sow.
Right.
You want to eat, but you don't want to put in any work.
They always want something for nothing. Right.
Exactly. They want something for nothing. You look at somebody that is somewhere or has something, you say, oh, damn, I want to be like that. Well, if you want to be like that, then you got to do what they did, right? You know what I'm saying? That's like this is a basic example, right? But if you're like a mile in front of me and I'm a mile behind you and I'm saying, I want to get to where you at. Well, how did you get there? Did you not walk that? No. I don't want to walk, but I just want to get.
I want to sit on my ass.
I want to sit on my ass. It doesn't work that way, But let's see. Now let's go to Proverbs chapter. I'm gonna get this, but if you could hold Sirach in the Apocrypha. Do you have your Apocrypha? Okay.
Yeah.
Sirach 38 and 24. I'm gonna get this real quick. This is the book of Proverbs. Chapter and you know what? It's like when you actually thoroughly study the scriptures, it's not really it's not vexing. It's like you should love to learn more. You should love that feeling of you come across new information and you're like, damn, like, oh man, that's so, you should love that feeling of learning, especially when it comes to the word of the Lord, because we're learning about ourselves. We're learning about our heritage. We're learning about our power. We're learning about the prophecies. We're learning about the riches and the blessings that the Lord has for us. So this is about us. You're really learning about how and why we were created, what our purpose is to do. So we are learning the instructions of how to live. That's what the scriptures teach you. All right. So it shouldn't be a grievous thing for you to take your own time. And most of the time, when you stop studying, you're stopping to do something else, right? You're stopping to do something else. So you gotta now that you got this truth in your life, you gotta learn to balance it. But everything else revolves around the truth. Your life revolves around the truth. The truth doesn't revolve around your life. You don't say, I'm gonna do this, and that, and then I'm gonna do this. You got the truth first, and then you say, okay, I know I have to dedicate such and such for the word of the Lord. How can I now fit in everything else that I need to do? I'm not saying that here it is, you got to work, but you're not. I'm gonna sit down and read a couple more hours and be late to work. No, you got to use wisdom. Okay. But yeah, this is Proverbs chapter 14, verse 6. It says, a scorner seeketh wisdom and findeth it not, but knowledge is easy unto him that understandeth. And why is that? Because him that understandeth, how did he arrive at that understanding? He studied thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
If you read something, you can read something and know it without understanding it. Okay, look, and I always go back to this basic example. If you go to class and they put 2 plus 2 equals 4, you can look at that and you can know. I know 2 plus 2 is 4, but it doesn't mean you understand why. And that's why you're going to go on a test and still fail, because you didn't go home and study why does 2 plus 2 equal 4, or you didn't ask the professor, okay, I know you said 2 plus 2 is 4, but why is that? Okay, because that shows you how addition works. You take this, you put them together as one, and you get the final solution. If you don't understand that concept, you can memorize 2 plus 2 is 4, 3 plus 3 is 6. But if you don't know why, then when you come across 4 plus 3, you're not gonna know what that is, because you never memorized it, you never saw that. But you should be able to know and understand certain scriptures based on your understanding of other scriptures. All right, when you read in something like Revelation the 7th chapter, Revelation 7. That's right, Revelation 7, and it talks about the deliverance. Then it mentions an innumerable multitude. If you understand the other scriptures, you shouldn't need somebody to break it down to you that is talking about Israelites. Because if you understand salvation is only for Israel, the Lord only came for Israel, no other nation can be saved, then even though nobody has ever really broken down Revelation 7 to you, when you see an innumerable multitude of other nations and it says that they're going to be saved, you got to be able to say, okay, I know no other nation can be saved. I know the Bible doesn't contradict itself, and I know only Israelites can be saved. So there's only one meaning I can arrive at when I read Revelation 7. And that's that these people in these other nations have to be Israelites. That's the only way it makes sense. They're just being called other nations. So maybe you might find out, okay, why does it refer to them as other nations, even though I know they have to be Israelites? But nobody has ever really broken that down to you. But based on your understanding of other scriptures, when you understand it, when you see the scripture, you know it has to mean this. That's like addition. When you understand how 2 plus 2 equals 4, when you see 6 plus 3, you say, oh, I got to add the 3 to the 6 and I'm going to get 9, even though nobody ever told me 6 plus 3 is 9. Right. So you're not memorizing the equations, you're understanding how they work. So when you face them another time, you can utilize that.
Right.
Right. You got it.
Get a precept. Acts 17, starting verse 11. It says, those were more noble than those in Thessalonica, in that they received the word with all readiness of mind, and searched the scriptures daily, whether those things were so true. Right. So, this also goes to diligence. I just wanted to bring that out and point out that it is also of a noble. It is in the eyes of the Most High, you are like a noble person. It is a good character, and the Most High loves it for a man to be always searching diligently in the scriptures. Always seeking understanding in the scriptures. The brother said, a few seconds back, he said that why do you think the Most High brought us out of this world? Now, the book of James tells us that what fellowship with this world is enmity between us and the Most High, and so we must leave this world. But you have to. It's clear that a man does not need to. Nobody here needs to build a spaceship, a rocket ship, and go out into space and go to Mars. It's clear. It's clear that the only way to move out of this world is to live by the scriptures, and you cannot live by the scriptures without being, you cannot live by the scriptures when you're ignorant of the scriptures. It doesn't work that way. That's why I brought Ecclesiasticus, this brother. I just want to highlight this one out. The brother posted a precept. He says, Ecclesiasticus chapter 6, verse 32, my son, if thou woes, thou shalt be taught, and if thou wilt apply thy mind, thou shalt be what? Prudent. A prudent man is a man that has the ability to think, man. He thinks ahead of his, he lives properly and then his decisions are always based on what his life is going to be in the future. And a man cannot have that knowledge. A man cannot be skillful in this mindset without the scriptures. You cannot, you always going to find yourself doing the opposite of what the scripture tells you if you're ignorant of it. We believe last camp, the brother brought out a reference in a movie where a man, he said in the movie trailer, this man was, society was kind of crumbling, right? And he was Jake. And while it was like, while society was crumbling, this dude sent his daughter to an Edomite, you know?
No.
Yeah, he sent his daughter to an Edomite, to his neighbor. Now, if a man who knew the scriptures, a man who understood the scriptures will understand that the scripture says that in that time, a neighbor shall invade another neighbor for lack of bread. So a neighbor ain't your friend in that time. If a man who understands will know that the scripture tells you that what? Trust not thine enemy, for as what iron rusted, so is he. Right. So you will not go, you absolutely no way give the your daughter whom you love most to an Edomite, you see? And a lot of people are going to be making these grave mistakes, all because they are ignorant of the scriptures, you know? That's why I love the scriptures. It said, if you apply your mind, thou shalt be prudent, you know? I just wanted to add that on that.
Yep, that's beautiful. Hey, and even finishing in verse 33, it says, if thou love to hear, thou shalt receive understanding, and if thou bow down thine ear, thou shalt be wise.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's it. If you love to hear, which goes into learning, you know, you're gonna receive understanding. So
right.
You got people that understand. How do you know this? Well, you study. You know what I'm saying? You don't just wake up one day and it's just in your head. You know, you got to study and then keep on going over these scriptures. You know, and make sure that's how you stay sharp. All right, you continuously go over these scriptures over and over and over again. All right. Oh, there's another one too. Yabba Khan.
And
you want to say something?
I was going to say that. Okay, this one, Proverbs 22.
No, 19 and 8.
Okay,
but make your point.
I just wanted to say that you know, yeah, Khan. I just wanted to say that when you read the book of Job, it tells us that it tells us how men labor to find gold, to find precious things in the earth. How they're all checking out rocks. You know, the how do I put it? The grievous ways in which men, you know, labor in order to receive gold. And then he says that, but look, man, all that things that they did, you can't. The word of this I'm trying to pair it properly, right? Yeah, like all these ways that they've done to do this, they still don't have the most precious thing. And what I'm thinking is that they still don't have the most precious thing. And I wanted to just also bring our mind to the fact that the Most High has not made this thing. The Most High has not made this thing like too much work for us. You know, like the book of Job said, they have to go into the earth. They got to chip out things. They got to carry out rocks out the hole. They got to lay foundations and all these things. We don't have to do all that. All you have to do is just sit down, calm yourself, and look through the scriptures, words. And it pisses the Most High off every day that you don't do this because he set the bar so low. You know, people, you understand that even the things that people have to accomplish in this world, they put a hell of a lot more effort into it, man. And the Most High made this so low, man. He made it so small. But you know, how pissed off is he gonna be if you appear in front of his judgments and you say, "Oh man, I couldn't have time to do it." How disrespectful is that to him? How pissed off do you think he's gonna be if you show up and you say, "Oh, you know, I just didn't get to it. You know, I didn't get into it." You know.
That's a very very good point. You know, that's a very very good point because you look at people who mine. That's a very dangerous job that go underground with that, right? And like you said, they do that to put food on the table.
Yeah.
Here it is. You fighting for immortality. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, you got to go out there for a couple of hours and teach the scriptures, or sit in your house and open the book and read the scriptures. Read the scriptures and understand and teach it. That what we're doing right now is we're teaching, right? And this is all if that miner said, if they said, "Oh, that's all he got to do to put food on the table," he would do it gladly. You know? Here it is. This is what you got to do. And Jake, I don't know, a whole video. I don't know if I could do a whole video. I don't know. I'm not a prophet. All right, well, that dude when he jumps out in that mine, he don't get to say I'm not a miner. I gotta put food on the table, so I got to do what needs to be done. So, like you said, the most I could pull that. So hold on. So you got this guy right here, and he ain't even. I didn't even call him. I called class, right? And look at how hard he's working, and it's not even for what you're gonna get.
Mm-hmm.
I told you to do this, and this, and you couldn't do that. That's why the Lord got mad at the napkin nigga. You know, and he said, "Yo, take what I gave him, and even that which he has, and cast them out into outer darkness." Because if you couldn't do this simple task, how am I supposed to put you in charge of a nation? You got to remember that aspect of this truth. To be a part of the say the 144,000, right? You putting in this work. The Lord is looking at how you perform now to see, are you able to judge His people?
Mm-hmm.
So if you can't handle this job He's given us now, how are you going to judge the whole nation? You know, under whatever jurisdiction you've been given. You don't have responsibility. You don't have integrity. You know, you see, that's the thing, that those are the parts where you lose points. And no. Technically, according to the law, I didn't go off. But the Lord is looking at other parts. How do you move? What are your manners? What are your mannerisms? You know, what is your spiritual etiquette? All these things matter. Do you judge matters the right way, or do you get emotional and go after your feelings? And even though the guy is right, I don't like him, so I judge against him. Why would the Most High put you over His people? You're gonna be an unrighteous judge. You know. So yeah, that's a beautiful point that you brought out. And in the precept, Proverbs 19:8, he that getteth wisdom loveth his own soul. He that keepeth understanding shall find good.
That's right.
Man, that's beautiful, man.
Shit. Yeah, man. Because a man without understanding is just dead. You know, that's why the scripture says that a fool weep for a fool all the days of his life, man, and that his life is actually worse than a person who's in the grave. You know.
Yep. Gone. So yeah, we could get Sirach, the one that you got, and then I'll get the last one, and then we'll close it up.
All right, this is Sirach chapter, let me see, chapter 38, verse 24. It says, "The wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure, and he that has little business shall become wise."
Why is that? Because he's going to have more time to go through the scriptures and read this part. And you might, sometimes you could spend an hour on one chapter, and you're there reading it over and over. You're looking at the other translations
on one verse.
You know what I'm saying? And you try to find out what does it mean? Like, you trying to visualize what you're reading here. You looking up articles, you looking up locations, you gather that information, you come and put it right back here, and you look at it again, and then it finally hits you. Okay. Then you read a verse above, you read a verse below, you go up, so you get the understanding of what you're reading, So sometimes you may plan to read 5 chapters, but you may end up reading 1 chapter in an hour. It doesn't mean that, you're behind. No, it means you're trying to understand before you move on. You got to chew your food before you swallow, right? So that's why it says, the wisdom of a learned man cometh by opportunity of leisure, his time to read, his time to study. And he that hath little business shall become wise, because he'll have more time to apply to this. But if you got little business, and then on your leisure time, you ain't really studying, then it doesn't matter if you got little business. You're not gonna grow on a level. You got it.
No, that's nice. It's pretty much it. I have anything to add on.
Okay, all right. So let's keep going from verse 25 on down.
All right, verse 25. How can he get wisdom that holdeth plow, and that glorieth in gold, and giveth ox, and is occupied in their labors, and whose talk is of bullocks?
Right. So now you're dealing with one that like a shepherd or a husbandman, where you're or a plowman, right? So he how can he get wisdom that holdeth the plow? Because that's not a 2-hour job, right? This is something that you gotta do. It's your way of life. So he that holdeth the plow and glorieth in the gold. The gold is what is like the little rod that they will use with a pointy end at the end that they will use to direct the oxen or the cattle to go the right way. So as you got the plow and you're pressing it down, they're supposed to be going forward. So if they start going veering to the left or to the right, you could poke them with that, and then they will go the right way. Or if they stop moving, you could poke them so they could keep on moving. So it says here, he that glorieth in the gold, that driveth oxen, right? Because like you drive a car, you steer and control how fast the car moves and what direction it goes in. So that's how they drive the oxen with the gold. It says, and is occupied in the labors whose talk is of bullocks, because that's his profession. That's what he does, right? So that's all he does. How can he get wisdom, right? You got it?
Verse 26, he giveth his mind to make furrows, and his diligence to give the kind fodder.
Furrows are like holes, not holes per se, but like if you got a plow, the job of the plow is to break up the earth. So you would press it into the earth, and then the oxen would drive it forward. So you're making like lines, thick lines in the ground where you would plant the seeds in. Those are furrows.
Says he giveth his mind to furrows, and his diligence to give the kind fodder. So every carpenter and workmaster that laboreth day and night, and they that cut the grave seals and are diligent to make great variety, and give themselves to counterfeit imagery, and watch to finish a work. The smith also sitting by the anvil, and considering the ironwork, the vapor of the fire wasteth his flesh, and he fighteth with the heat of the furnace. The noise of the hammer and the anvil is ever in his ears, and his eyes.
You know, I just thought of too. This is a precept right here, and this also shows you how the waster, when you deal with like the book of Isaiah, the Lord said, "I've created the waster to destroy." You know that has to deal with fire, because here it says here that the vapor of the fire wasteth his flesh.
Right.
So what do we know? What is the vapor of fire? Heat. So what does heat do to a man's flesh? It makes it hot, and if it's hot enough, it burns you. Right. So if it wastes your flesh, in essence, it burns you. Right. So in that context, the waster is talking about those missiles, because they're gonna destroy, they're gonna burn. But that's just an observation that just stood out to me.
It's a great observation. The noise of the hammer and the anvil is ever in his ears, and his eyes look still upon the pattern of the things that he maketh. He setteth his mind to fetch his work, and watches to polish it perfectly. So does the potter sitting at his work, and turning the wheel about his feet, who is always careful, set at his work, and maketh all his work by number.
Right. So what is being written here are different professions that different men have, and how they dedicate their time to those professions. Right. You got the carpenter, you got the smith, you got the potter, right? And then the one that deals with bullocks, the husbandman. These are all things they do, and how they dedicate their time to it, right? So he's saying here, he's giving examples of how he that hath much business can't really become wise, because he's occupied in his business, whether it's a carpenter or a potter or a husbandman or a smith. You going?
Right. He fashioned the clay with his arm, and boweth down his strength before his feet. He applieth himself to lead it over, and he is diligent to make clean the furnace. All these trust in their hands, and every one is wise in his work.
Boom. He's wise in his work. What does that mean? That means that when you see this potter right here, he knows exactly what he's doing. He knows exactly how it works. He knows exactly how to do it. You say, "Can you make this kind of grace for me?" Of course. You see this husbandman over here? He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows what when the bullock moves a certain way, he knows what's wrong with it. When it makes a certain sound, he knows what's wrong with it. If it doesn't want to move at all, he knows what's wrong with it. Right? A carpenter, when he's making different things, he's looking at he comes in here, he looks at the building, he looks at it, he knows what he's doing. Right? He's wise in his work, because that's what he does. And you know why he's wise? or what makes him a good carpenter? He's thorough. He knows a carpenter that could come look at a work and know what manner of work that is. He's thorough because he knows what you should look for in the work and what you shouldn't. Like people who have worked in construction, they can look at a building and tell if the groundwork was done right or if it wasn't. If they really understand their craft.
It says, all these trust in the hands, and everyone is wise in his work. Without these cannot a city be inhabited. And and they shall not dwell where they will, nor go up and down. Right.
Yeah, because you need husbandmen and carpenters. They all have a role to play in society. So they can't go and do whatever they want to do because there's need of them in where they are in their role, right? A husbandman can't go do his job somewhere that's not in the field because that's where he belongs.
They shall not be sought for in public council, nor sit high in the congregation. They shall not sit in the judge's seat, nor understand the sentence of judgment. They cannot declare justice in judgment. They shall not be found where parables are spoken. But
so he's saying here, they're wise in what they do, but you're not going to see a farmer, right, in public council. When there's the council going on, what do we do about they're not call that farmer, let's get his opinion on this, right? It says nor sit high in the congregation. They're not going to be put in the seat of the elders or in the seat of the great wise men, right? It says they shall not sit on the judge's seat nor understand sentence of judgment, because that's not what they're wise in. They're wise in their crafts, and their crafts don't have to do with judgment or giving advice in public matters, right? It says they cannot declare justice and judgment, meaning being judges. It says, and they shall not be found where parables are spoken, because that is not their job. That is not what they're wise in. You can ask him about a bullock or a certain technique, and in his craft, he'll tell you. But if you were to ask him about judging matters, he wouldn't be able to, right? Go on.
But they will remain the state of the world, and all their desire is in the work of their craft.
Right. They will maintain the state of the world and all their desires in the work of their craft. Yeah, because why do you desire a carpenter? Do you desire a carpenter because he can teach you how to do your math homework? No. You desire a carpenter when you need some work done that he can do. So their desire is in the work of their craft. The only time you're going to go to a potter is when you need something that he can make for you, right? And they will maintain the state of the world, because so long as you have a husbandman, so long as you have a carpenter, so long as you have these people, doctors, lawyers, and all that, the society can maintain the way it is. Why do you think, for example, when they started bringing the mandates and firing people, shit started going downhill? Because now you don't got police officers to enforce the law. You don't got hospital workers. So society starts to what? Crumble. It can't maintain, right? All right, let's move on to the next chapter. Yeah.
Chapter 39, verse 1. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, and is occupied in the meditation thereof, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies.
Boom. So usually we'll get Sirach 39, but Sirach 39 is a continuation of 38.
Right.
So that's why he listed all these different people in their occupation and says, yeah, they'll be wise in their craft, but you're not going to use them for anything really other than their craft. But he that giveth his mind to the law of the Most High, like Ezra did, right? That's why Ezra was in the position he was in. It says, and is occupied in the meditation thereof. In order to do that, you have to be thorough. You can't be short-winded in understanding. It says, will seek out the wisdom of all the ancient, and be occupied in prophecies. You got it?
Yeah. He will keep the sayings of the renowned men, and where subtle parables are, he will be there also.
Because he's being thorough.
Right. He will seek out the secrets of the grave sentences, and be conversant in dark parables.
Mm-hmm.
He shall serve among great men and appear before princes. He will travel through the strange countries, for he has tried the good and the evil among men.
Right. And that goes into the experience, but you'll notice that for example, you want to know why everybody knows about the Hebrew Israelites?
Mm.
Because they don't want to admit it and they don't want to acknowledge it, but they can't help it. They have to
Mhm.
deal with it. Why? Because we're everywhere. Our name is everywhere. Why? Because we're studying and occupied, and we're abounding in a craft that none else has been able to do. You have doctors and lawyers and all this, but guess what? I could learn to be a doctor. You can
Mhm.
learn to be a lawyer. He can learn to be a carpenter, but nobody can you can't learn to be a prophet. You either are or you're not. If the Spirit is with you, you'll understand these scriptures and you can break it down and teach it. But if not, then you can't. So no matter whether it's vocab or Jacob Rothschild himself, they can do each other's jobs, but they can't do our job. Only we can do our job. All right. And so the fame is going out there. Why? Because as it says here, we're going to serve among great men. And they know that what we're doing, the reason what we're doing bothers them so much is because we're dealing with a great book. But they
Mhm.
don't look at us as great men.
Yeah.
So they're like, what business do these lowlives have with such a great book? But what hurts them is these lowlives know more about that great book and handle it better than we who consider ourselves are great. How are the base things of the world? What did the Lord say? He uses that to overcome, roughly paraphrasing, the more higher things in the world. Yeah, and that troubles them. Go ahead.
Um, Verse 5. He will give his heart to resort early to the Lord that made him, and will pray before the Most High, and will open his mouth in prayer and make supplications for his saints.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 6. When the great Lord will, he shall be filled with the spirit of understanding. He
Mm-hmm.
shall pour out wise sentences and give thanks unto the Lord in his prayer.
Right. When the great Lord will. And when is that? That's when the Lord sees that you're serious. How does he see that you're serious? Well, are you being thorough? Are you sure-winded? Do you just do it for a little bit and leave? If you do that, then you ain't serious about it. You're not going to get any better. You got to keep on going. You got to keep on going. And if the Lord, damn, this guy's still at it. Damn, this guy's still at it. Yo, that he's serious. You know, this guy's serious. You come there, he's always working. He's serious. Give him, increase him. Whatever he's looking for, bless him with it. I can trust him with more of my secrets because I know he'll take good care of it. Because I went to sleep. I came back, he was still working. Nobody was here telling him to work, but he was still doing it. So clearly, he desires it. He values it. I don't need to watch him every 2 seconds to make sure he's doing the job. He's going to do it. He's going to do it whether I'm here or not. So I can trust him with more responsibility. All right, let's keep going. We'll read up to verse 12 and we'll end it.
Verse 7. He shall direct his counsel and knowledge, and in his secrets shall he meditate.
Mm-hmm.
He shall show forth that which he has learned, and shall glory in the law of the covenant of the Lord.
Mm-hmm.
Many shall commend his understanding, and so long as the world endureth, it shall not be blotted out. It shall not be blotted out.
Mm-hmm.
His memorial shall not depart away. His name shall live from generation to generation.
Mm-hmm.
Nation shall show forth his wisdom, and congregation shall declare his praise.
Now, do you know this, right? When you deal with the scriptures, here it is. You got all these different people that have lived in history and yada, yada, yada. But some of the most famous people that are known all throughout the world are people from the Bible.
That's right.
Everybody
Yep.
knows Jesus. Everybody knows
Mm-hmm.
Moses. Everybody knows Solomon. Everybody
Mm-hmm.
knows David, Paul, right? Even Muslims know them.
Mm-hmm.
Even atheists know them. Even Buddhists know them.
Yeah.
But not everybody knows Caligula. Not everybody knows Julius Caesar. They might have heard the name, but they don't really know. You could ask an atheist, somebody far somewhere, you know Moses? Oh, isn't he the guy with the sea, the Red Sea? They'll tell you because guess what? The names of these men, even amongst non-believers, guess what? The names of these men are still, renowned.
Right.
Because the glory the Lord gave them is past any other. The only person that people may mention when they hear the Quran is Muhammad. That's because it's constantly, but
Yeah.
even that is not on that level of the scriptures. If you look at the world, there's a standard in which whenever you hear religion, the number one book you think of is the Bible. And is always the standard of everything deals with the Bible. The term sin, where did the term sin come from? The Bible.
The Bible, that's right.
You have a lot of terms and terminologies and things that are done in society today that everybody does or everybody goes by that go back to the scriptures, not any other book. So that should tell you something. All right.
Verse 11. If he die, he shall leave a greater name than 1,000, and if he live, he shall increase it. Yet have
and that's because, for example, if you deal with King Solomon, for example, King Solomon is more known than a lot. There's people that lived during Solomon's time who we have no idea who they are. Absolutely not. Absolutely.
Kings. Yeah.
Kings. And these are thousands, millions of people. We have no idea who they are. But we know who Solomon is, right? So if he dies, his name is going to be known. But if he lives, it says he shall increase it. Why? If David died after he had slain Goliath, we would know who David was because of what he did. But David didn't die after he slew Goliath. He went on to do even greater things.
Yeah.
So David was known not for, slaying Goliath is a lot, but you became king. All Israel was under you, went through all this and that, and you came up at this point. So he increased it. All right, let's finish.
Yet have I more to say, which I have thought upon, for I am filled as a moon at the full.
That's right, like a full moon. So that's like poetically saying it. Show you Jake got bars. But that's pretty much it on that on the lesson really for the precepts that we got here. But it's just to, once again, going back to the topic of you don't want to be short-winded in understanding. Okay, and in order to avoid being short-winded in understanding, you have to study, but you have to study thoroughly. You have to thoroughly go through the scriptures. And as you read something, if you don't understand it, don't just shelve it and never come back to it. Labor to understand what you don't understand in the scriptures. And the more you do that, the more you realize that your understanding of the scriptures is starting to increase. Because whatever you didn't understand or didn't know, you took it upon yourself to go and learn it and to understand it. All right. So it's very key, and it shows the Lord diligence. Study to show thyself approved unto the Most High. And if the Lord sees that you're responsible and diligent in His word, He's going to increase you. All right. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got. You got anything, brother?
Beautiful. Nah.
All right. So with that, Lord willing, that was edifying unto the elect, the water for the precepts, the water for tuning in. And we want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Ba'ashem, Ba'akadosh. The next time, Shalom.
Shalom.